Hello, welcome to Rise of the Gay Cinephiles, the show where we, two homosexual people who like films a lot, also known as cinephiles, talk shit about all the latest things we've been watching and other hot topics. I'm Gary.
And I'm Chris.
Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day. We are recording my favourite Irish film.
I was going to say your favourite Irish actress.
My favourite Irish actress would be...
Io Edebori.
Yes, of course. Andrea Corr.
From
specifically
Evita.
from Evita. When in the musical, the stage production, the role is a lot bigger. But Madonna was like, no, Andrea Corr, you get one scene. So, yes. Happy St. Patrick's Day to Andrea Corr.
Samantha
Mumba. The rest of the Corr family, apart from Jim.
Yeah.
We don't like Jim. Bewitched.
Yes.
Yeah. Lots of wonderful Irish people. Are you currently searching?
No, I'm a professional.
Sophisticated
Jennifer
Irish
Aniston in Leprechaun.
directors.
But yes.
Well, I feel like I want to say what my favourite Irish film is.
Your favourite Irish film?
Yeah, but I don't know now because I was unprepared.
I mean, what's the first one that comes to mind?
I genuinely have no idea. Is that silly?
I wouldn't say it's silly, but I feel like you should know.
I'm not going to lie, we watch a hell of a lot of films. And so at any given time, the most obvious films in the whole world get muddled up in my brain. Why, what's yours? What are you thinking?
So my favourite Irish film is, of course, Barry Lyndon.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Second favourite is The Lobster.
Okay.
So
Not Irish directors though.
No, which is strange.
Were they made in Ireland?
I assume so. Yeah, it was just a letterbox list that I brought up.
Okay.
But I mean, having Irish relatives, we should probably know our favourite Irish films.
The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, sure. That's actually up there.
Yeah.
Killing of a Sacred Deer.
There we go. Okay, stop now. We've embarrassed ourselves enough now.
Yeah, and I'm leaving it all in.
I'm sure.
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch.
This time... Oh.
Silver Shamrock. There we go.
Actually, no, I'm talking about actual Irish films made by Irish filmmakers about Ireland.
Well, clearly it's a topic that we need more education on.
So this time next year...
Yeah.
We will have a list together. And I'm sure we'll watch many... Because I do, it's so wanky because everyone says it, but I do have Irish heritage.
The funniest thing about this is the episode isn't even released on St. Patrick's Day.
No, it's not. It's just this is
We're just
when
recording
we're recording.
Yeah, so we were going to do an Irish special, but Chris has fucked it up now, and we're just going to have to wing it.
Shut the fuck up.
Starting with previously Housewives and Drag Queens Corner, but I think we've evolved now to Reality Roundup.
Reality Roundup.
But I mean, this is still TBC because maybe we should just talk about what we're watching on TV.
I suppose we should.
What's on the box?
Can we just talk about Traitors USA, season 3, the finale?
Yeah.
And this obviously spoilers are in effect
for this section.
For this section, so. But I was very pleased. It's been 2 weeks now, so. But I was very pleased, actually, to see our girl Dolores.
Yes.
Winning, despite being incorrect 8 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Winging it till the end. But I also become a little obsessed with Gabby.
Yeah, Gabby.
And I think the whole world has. I'm certainly not alone in this.
Yeah, the best friend of the Traitors, Gabby.
Yes. Yeah. Love her. I'm following her on TikTok now, on Instagram. She is so dry in her humour.
Yeah.
So funny. She gives a Jennifer Coolidge energy,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I'm such a fan. I'm so glad that she won and got to have a wedding to her wife with the money that she apparently hasn't received yet. But well, they wouldn't really, would they, until it's aired?
Yeah, I suppose it's true.
Because everyone was saying, "Oh, doesn't Danielle look fantastic? She definitely won the money because she's had a fucking facelift." Like, oh my god, poor Danielle. I think poor Danielle, she got on my nerves at times. But you know how the internet likes to take these things way too seriously. And I think she was on the receiving end of so much bullshit from the internet.
Which doesn't surprise me.
This year. Yeah, did she annoy me? Of course. But this is an edited down show, you know. Did you know, I wasn't on her side. Usually I am on the Traitors side, but I just happened to not be on her side because I didn't like the game that she played. Doesn't mean I fucking hate her. Doesn't mean, you know, I want to see her unhappy. It's just a fucking game on the TV.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And for me, I think season 3 of American Traitors is probably the best Traitors season.
I enjoyed
season 2 America is quite close as well.
We did watch season 2. I do like the British one. I do.
So
I think season 2 of the British Traitors might be my favourite overall. But I don't. We watched season 1 of the US Traitors, didn't we?
Yeah.
And the everyday people with TV personalities, I don't think worked.
No, and I think they know that, hence why they stopped it.
And I'm going to be honest, I think the American version wouldn't work with everyday American people. Because that was my least favourite part of that. We might get a celebrity version here in the UK.
I think we will.
But I think the UK sort of sense of humour and the way... And probably because it's relatable to us.
Yeah.
But I think it works better in the UK with everyday people.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, I agree. I would love to see a celebrity version in the UK, though.
I would. It depends on the celebs.
Jane McDonald. Throw her in.
Yeah. Because we don't have celebrities the same way that America has the celebrities that are known for being gamers, is how they refer to themselves.
Yeah, it would just...
They went on Big Brother.
Yeah.
Big Brother is so much different in America. Survivor, The Challenge. We don't have those kind of shows. So we wouldn't have anyone that we would say is a gamer. So we wouldn't have that energy. So it would just be kind of silly celebs, which is great.
Yeah,
which is fantastic.
That's what we want, really. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's become an addiction. Maybe we'll expand that addiction to Australia and New Zealand one day.
Yeah.
Maybe. But aside from that, Drag Race is still going.
It is still going.
It's still going. I feel like I'm completely off Susie Toot now.
Do you think?
I started really, really on her side, but it's just these tantrums for not winning things.
I think she's getting...
wasn't so much this week, but I mean like the last few where it's just always
she's been a little delusional, hasn't she? I don't think she throws a tantrum necessarily.
Maybe not the right word.
But I think she's... It's a weird one because it is edited and you don't blame the edit with these things because you said it. But there is production that takes place. And in this week's episode, Susie 2, everyone said she's my biggest competition.
Yeah.
She's doing so well. She's doing fantastic. But she kind of had a bit of the delusional edit. But if all the other girls are thinking that she's doing so well, then...
It's strange.
Is there a slight disconnect there?
Because, I mean, she was my favourite for the longest time, but now... I mean, On Your Nerve is my clear winner.
Love On Your Nerve.
Yeah.
Love. I do... See, I like Lexi, but maybe because I think it's high camp that Lexi has this one-sided feud with Susie Toot, and everything that Susie Toot says or does, Lexi takes to heart, even if it doesn't even involve her.
Yeah.
Like Susie sneezed. Like that sneeze was directed at me. Susie is out to get me. She's my biggest competition. She's gonna sneeze. She's gonna give me a cold. You know. I think it's high camp. I love it. I do love it.
Yeah, it is.
Because but it's a friendly feud. It's not. They're not trying to tear each other down. It's kind of Lexi's. I don't know, anxieties are getting to her, and Susie is the one that's at the sort of receiving end of it.
Yeah. I always get caught up in the personalities and such, and, you know, it's not RuPaul's personality race. But even the drag, I don't know, just this season I haven't hated it. I haven't disliked it. It's just kind of happened. And there's been a few of those seasons in recent years where it's just kind of, it's kind of just existed.
I'm entertained for the hour.
Yeah.
Most of the time. But I'm not necessarily too bothered about who wins or goes.
Like, do you remember when we first got together and it felt like an event? When Drag Race was on, it's like, oh, okay, this is an event. We sit down, we watch it. And it's really exciting. It just, I don't know. It felt like that for the last UK season. And not the last All-Stars, but the 2 All-Stars before that felt like that. And I think maybe the last US one. But then every now and then you'll get a season, like between... season 6 was the last UK one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so seasons 3, 4 and 5 in the UK felt exactly like that. Especially 4 and 5. Where it was just like, oh, yeah, okay. Great.
Yeah.
It's nothing new. It just feels like it's repeating the same shit. But... yeah, the only one that really standing out to me is On Your Nerve.
Yeah.
And that's who I'm fully rooting for. This week's challenge was good. It got a few laughs out of me. It was entertaining. The roast was better.
I did like the roast.
The lip sync this week, though, was very amusing. The scissors incident. It
was a real shame.
Yeah.
It was, because if it had worked, I think it would have looked great.
Yeah.
But I think one slip up became 2 slip ups, became 3, and then before she knew it, poor Lydia was sort of floundering, and you know, she struggled with the scissors, which then became struggling with getting her foot out of the dress.
Yeah.
And I do sort of feel, particularly with the lip syncs, are they not allowed to maybe change? So it's an equal... because if you are like, I'm going to wear a skin tight latex outfit and I'm going to look stunning, now I have to do...
Queens have changed in the past, though.
They do on All Stars.
Yeah.
They do on All Stars.
Yeah. I mean, it's... yeah. It was at least entertaining.
Yeah, it was.
Disastrous, but entertaining.
It was entertaining. I also think something else that is high camp is, I believe her name's Lana. There's too many L's. Lana is... the way that every week she says, this is a brand new silhouette for this is brand new. You'll never see me wear spikes. I was like, okay, this might be true, but you can't say it every week because we haven't seen you anywhere else.
It's true.
It's so fun. I think it's so camp, and if she's deliberately doing it, she's a comic genius because it's so funny.
I don't think she is.
But if she is, it's so good. It's so... someone did a compilation on the internet, and as people do, and I was cracking up. It was so funny.
Well, what else has been on our box? I tell you what else has been on our box is the White Lotus.
Loving White Lotus.
Not quite reality TV,
no.
Which is why we probably need a new name for this section. But
what's on the box?
Yeah,
Telly Addicts.
Gary and Chris's boxes. Let's look in the box. We'll figure it out. But we can't not talk about the White Lotus. Yet another solid season of this show that is just... I'm as we're speaking, we haven't watched this week's episode, and I've just remembered how last week's ended, and I don't know why we haven't watched it yet, because, oh my god, that was a cliffhanger with the full moon party. I cannot wait to see what happens next. It's absolutely wild. It's just so camp. It's just every season, without fail, every single episode is a banger.
It's the kind of show that only a gay guy could write.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's ticks so many boxes for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's campy, it's over the top, it's melodramatic, it's so silly. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's rich people acting the fool.
Exactly.
It's the cast is always spot on. Jennifer Coolidge, Parker Posey, so many wonderful actresses and actors that we admire, and it's a hell of a lot of fun.
It's just Parker Posey playing Lisa Barlow with a southern accent is iconic.
Sutton. It's the accent's given Sutton.
Yeah, but she talks exactly like Lisa Barlow. And it feels like it's a direct comparison, you know, because of the satirical take on rich people, it would make sense. So that's, I mean, if we were doing Housewives and Drag Queens Corner, there's my housewife that I want to talk about.
But I think people have been enjoying it. I think a lot of people miss Jennifer Coolidge and they're kind of, oh, it's not as good as the first 2 seasons. I think it's just as good. I'm just as entertained. I absolutely love it. And I love the theme song as well.
Yeah. I'm not giving my opinion on this either way, because I don't want people to come for me. But I think a lot of people struggle with new things.
Potentially.
When something new is released, like if it's a new album by someone, or if it's a new season of a TV show that's been going a while. And I know I'm saying this as I've just sat here and said the Drag Race has been a bit meh this season. So maybe I am guilty of it myself sometimes, but it's particularly with the White Lotus. It's like, it's another season of the White Lotus. It's doing apart from Jennifer Coolidge, it's doing all of what it's done for 2 seasons now. I don't know what more you'd want from it.
But it's doing it in a different way.
Yeah.
So the stories are still ridiculous.
It's quintessentially
White
Lotus.
It's still ridiculous rich people doing ridiculous stuff. It's still intrigue. It's still potentially a murder. There's a mystery to it. There's all of that business. But it's just, you know, slightly different. Now, you're in another beautiful country in a beautiful hotel. I don't know what this incest thing that's going on. That's very different. Whatever the Jason Isaacs, the dad, whatever he's got himself into is intriguing. I love the energy between the 3 gal pals that went to high school or college together. I love their energy. It didn't remind me of anyone, thankfully, but I love that energy where they're all like bitching about each other. It's great. No, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you, Camila Cabello. Moving on from TV, from the box.
Do you think people, just going back slightly to what you were saying, do you think, you know how people don't like change, you were saying, do you think that was the reaction when Sarah Jessica Parker cut her hair for season 5 Sex and the City?
Maybe. Maybe.
An uproar.
Yes. A little more to come on that later on.
Oh.
But anyway, moving from what's on the box to what's in the box. Yeah, that was on the spot. Shelf Love. What's new in the world of physical media? I will tell you. Dressed to Kill has been released on 4K from our video. Erotic Ghost Stories trilogy from 88 Films. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 from Arrow Video. Mermaid Legends, Scent of a Spell, Bumpkin Soup from Third Window Films, the director's company. I would like to highlight, though, because, I mean, it's been a month since we've done Shelf Love, and there's been a lot of releases. So I'm going to highlight 2. First of all, Cruising has had a big box from Arrow Video. Didn't say about that.
Well, there's only so many box jokes I can hear in a space of 10 minutes.
It's the release that this sleazy camp classic deserves. This important part of queer cinema for right or wrong reasons. really deserves a big release, and Arrow have finally done it, and it's glorious, and you should all go and buy it. But also, a film we have brought and watched that's a new release is The Lady Assassin from 88 Films, a part of their Shaw Brothers side of the Asia collection.
Yes.
And what an absolute joy it was to watch this film.
It's one thing I've noticed, and we're not even close to finishing all the Shaw Brothers. We own a hell of a lot through Arrow and 88 Films. And by all accounts, there's still more to come. They were prolific in their output. But one thing that I've really enjoyed is the representation of women in these martial arts films. It's not always perfect, but so many of them have had that strong female character that me and Gary are drawn to. It's our nature. It's what we love. We love a film with a really strong female character. You know, one, or preferably 10, a dozen. You know, we love it. We love it. I keep doing that. Why do I didn't even listen to the song today. I don't even like the song. But they seem to be doing it really well. And Lady Assassin, she's not quite the main attraction. I was surprised.
No.
But I really liked her, the Lady Assassin in question. And I really enjoyed the film overall. Really, a lot of fun. It does exactly what you need. If you don't like martial arts films, don't watch it. But if you do, it's a great time.
Yeah.
Just put it on, enjoy, with some popcorn, and have fun watching a film.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Really beautifully shot action scenes as well. And the transfer looks stunning, as per usual with the 88 film Shaw Brothers releases. Yeah, it's just a fun time, and it has one of the best final shots I've ever seen in a film. Like, the entire third act is just on another
balls
level.
to the wall, definitely. It goes wild in the aisles, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm writing a song here.
Okay.
It rhymes. Balls to the wall.
That
wild in the aisle.
It's a very American saying. You're bringing it to the UK.
Balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall.
Do you think?
Yeah.
The elephant in the room.
Balls to the wall.
Balls to the wall.
Let's get to our highlights. So we've been watched a lot since we last did one of these episodes. Obviously, the Oscar special was our last one. So we've got a month's worth of stuff. So naturally, we're talking about things we watched within the last week or two. Up first, it's Gothic from 1986, directed by Ken Russell, written by Stephen Volk, based on a story by Lord Byron and Percy Bysshe Shelley. But Bysshe, is that how we say it? Bysshe?
Bysshe?
No one's called that anymore. It doesn't matter.
By Sheree. By Shelley.
I wish it was She by Sheree wrote this.
Joggers.
Starring Gabriel Byrne, Julian Sands, Natasha Richardson, and Timothy Spall.
Yeah.
And the premise is the Shelleys visit Lord Byron and compete to write a horror story. So, technically,
that is the premise.
This is a true story.
Selling it short, yes. Technically a true story.
Technically a true story. And what a true story this is. Stephen Volk, obviously, Stephen Volk, obviously, wrote one of my favourite films of all time, Ghostwatch. A work of genius that if you haven't seen it, please just turn off this podcast, go and watch it, come back, let us know how much you love it, and great, I've converted another person to loving Ghostwatch. But also,
you're the Ghostwatch guy.
will always be the Ghostwatch guy, my beloved Ghostwatch. But another film now that I love by Stephen is Gothic, because turns out he doesn't just write great camp ghost stories. He also writes great camp period dramas with hallucinatory horror and I don't even know. I picked this film to discuss. It's difficult to know how to put it into words. So Ken Russell, also obviously a genius, gave us Crimes of Passion, one of the greatest films ever made. So the two of them work really well together. Ken Russell's style is very distinct and very unique, and Stephen Volk's writing complements that here, as we're given what is essentially a period drama version of Climax.
Yeah. It's based on the story, and I don't know how true or false it is that Mary Shelley, she wrote Frankenstein after competing with her husband, or soon-to-be husband, and Lord Byron in a competition to write a horror story. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Frankenstein came from that, and she had her own personal history that led to that as well, her own sort of medical history. And what this does, it takes that and creates a horror film from it. Because the idea of them sitting there in a room writing by candlelight and saying, I've got it, great story, nice one, Mary, read us a little bit. I mean, that's not great cinema.
No.
So it's made more, and in the hands of Ken Russell, it's made into something so completely out there, so weird and wonderful, that you can't help but be enamored by it all. I personally, I think sometimes it was just a little bogged down in not it, but I was trying to figure things out, because it doesn't express everything directly to you. So you have to have a little bit of history of who Mary Shelley was, who Lord Byron was. So it's sometimes in my head became a little muddled, the story. But I'll say something: the visuals impeccable, like really just fantastic. Ken Russell is a pure genius at creating these visually impressive and wonderful, imaginative scenarios on film. The Devils, completely out there. When it really gets
I don't know why
there,
it slipped my mind that Ken Russell did The Devils and Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy, like really, the visuals in that. It's really it's so strange because Ken Russell, in my opinion, is one of the greatest directors to ever direct. Yeah, but he's also the guy I watched on Celebrity Big Brother back in the day. Was he arguing with Jade Goody? Was it that?
He was arguing with someone.
He was arguing with someone, and then didn't he leave early?
I think he did. Yeah,
but absolutely ridiculous. He was nominated for an Oscar for Women in Love. These real 5-star masterpieces. And this, it's up there with some of his best. Like, really fantastic. Wonderfully acted. I loved Natasha Richardson. I loved, Julian Sands, Gabriel Byrne, Timothy Spall, as you've never seen him before. Playing it gay. And, gay. Not just gay.
We get some cocks in there.
Well, we get flashes of stuff, don't we?
A big metal, hard, pointy weapon penis.
Yeah.
On a suit of armour.
It's not that far removed from Crimes of Passion. Really?
No, not really.
There's a big metal phallic symbol in that
That's true,
as well.
That is true. But we also get eyes on breasts.
We do, yes.
We get boobs of ice.
The eyes are the nipples of the soul.
And we're not making this up. I know sometimes we talk about things on this podcast and on Horror Culture Show where it kind of sounds like we're just making shit up. And then this seriously happens. And it's very much one of those. I didn't feel like I had to be familiar. I mean, I know about Mary Shelley, but I didn't feel like I needed to be familiar with everyone else because I kind of just let it happen. And it wasn't what I planned on doing going into the film, because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know this what it was. But it was when one of the characters earlier on was just running around screaming and for no particular reason, and it's kind of like, oh, that's what this film is. This is just this is for the vibes.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you compared it to Climax, I mean, it is very much that. I believe that they're on opium or some. They've taken some substances that have created this, you know, and we don't know what's real, what's not real, and what is the horror representing. It's got layers to it, and it's not a long ass film either.
No.
You know, we're not. I think for sometimes with films that are very visual, the longer they are, the more you sort of, okay, I'm going to need a little more, you know, and it's a very svelte 88 minutes, I believe, which I love. You know, I love that. I can deal with that for 88 minutes, and I can be enamored with it all and enjoy the visuals.
I mean, what surprised me the most is how sincere it was. You know, when you got a film where a character has eyes for nipples, and a suit of armor with a massive penis, you wouldn't really. There are a few directors who can do it, who can keep sincerity in there, whilst going wild in the aisles, to quote you. And obviously David Lynch, John Waters, Russ Meyer, and Ken Russell. You know. This film is ridiculous on so many levels. The things we've just described to you are ridiculous. It's silly. It's camp. But it's sincere. It's sincere. This is what Ken Russell thinks that event leading to Mary Shelley writing Frankenstein involved. And you can tell there's a real love for Frankenstein. And we have Ken Russell at the end of the film, and it's not a spoiler, Ken Russell at the end of the film on a boat tour telling everyone about Frankenstein. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, you made this film because you really love Frankenstein, and it captures the essence of Frankenstein within its Gothic setting, and the set designs, and obviously the horror elements and so on. You know, we don't exactly see Frankenstein imagery in, say, like The Monster or so on, but you can tell just within the filmmaking that it is a love letter to Gothic horror, and, you know, Gothic horror has Frankenstein to thank for a lot of it.
Well, I also think it bridges the gap between Mary Shelley's grief involving the death of her child and how that became Frankenstein. So I think it bridges that gap in the horror of grief becoming her artistic voyage.
Yeah.
Into writing her novel.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But yeah, that is Gothic. And if you have even a slight similar taste in films to us, it's you don't mind your films weird and not making sense. Go and watch it.
It is one of those films that I feel like we're maybe in the minority about. It has, unless I'm mistaken, has a 3.3 on Letterboxd.
Yeah, 5.7 on IMDb.
5.7 on IMDb. But then Ken Russell is one of those filmmakers that I don't think everyone gets.
No.
So, which is fine. I mean, not everything is for everyone, but this is for us. I feel like I say that so many times on the podcast, but it's so
very
true.
Distinct taste in films. Very specific.
Of course.
Speaking of, what's highlight number 2?
Highlight number 2 is a film that we weren't sure was for us the first time round, but the second time round, it's clearly one of our all-time favourites, and it's The Eyes of Laura Mars from 1978, directed by Irvin Kershner. This is the film he did right before Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Written by John Carpenter.
Year of Halloween.
The year of Halloween. So he would have he would only have done Assault on Precinct 13, maybe, he was most famous for.
Yeah. What an impressive time for both of those filmmakers.
Yeah. So the story was by John Carpenter, I believe. Yeah. And then screenplay by David Zelag Goodman.
But also co-written by John Carpenter.
Oh, also
as well.
co-written by John Carpenter. Starring little-known actress Faye Dunaway, a young in years, but not in. It's Tommy Lee Jones, who I feel has always had an older energy about him. Also starring Brad Dourif and Renee Auberjonois.
Also starring Tommy Lee Jones as Monobrow.
Yes, he does. It was the 70s. I feel like male grooming was slightly different back then. And you could pull a Faye Dunaway with a monobrow.
Yeah.
But the premise is fashion photographer Laura Mars, whose photographs contain violent images, develops the ability to see through a killer's eyes. Those around her including her driver Tommy, her manager Donald, her ex-husband Michael, and policeman John. So yeah, a pretty simple premise. It's basically
simple.
Well, I mean, it's a slasher film where she can see through the killer's eyes when he kills.
Yeah. So it's probably simple for us now, because I feel like this has been done multiple times since. But back then, I mean, that's kind of fucking random. Especially means, and again, this isn't really a spoiler, you don't find out why.
No,
It just
no.
happens.
But the 70s was quite rife with
70s is best decade for horror.
supernatural
Yeah.
in the everyday.
Are we in agreement that it's the best decade for horror?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. 80s is
80s is
good.
70s changed horror.
I think
Forever.
70s has the best horror films.
Yeah.
I think the 80s have the most fun
Yeah.
horror films.
No, agreed.
I think in the 80s you'll get more films that I've rated 3 to 4
Yeah.
with a love heart. But then obviously it's so... I mean, every week on Dawn of the Discs or whatever, they're like, this release of this long forgotten slasher film, you know.
Yeah.
Vinegar Syndrome are always bringing out slasher films and horror films that I've never even heard, and I thought I was quite clued up. I think they just in the 70s and 80s they just threw those horror films out there.
I think the 70s was experimental, and I think it swung and it hit. It threw shit at the wall and it stuck. They got it right. For so much of it, they got it right.
Yeah.
Black Christmas, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Exorcist, Halloween, Dawn of the Dead, Messiah of Evil, Eyes of Laura Mars. You know, did I say Black Christmas? If I didn't, then Black Christmas again. So much. Suspiria was in the same decade as all those other films. Some of the most unique horror films ever made, and this is absolutely one of them. And you are right, it is a simple premise when you look at it now. It's a simple premise, but the execution of it is phenomenal.
But it's magical realism.
Yeah.
So it's like Carrie and The Fury.
70s also.
And, you know, The Exorcist, in the sense that the very supernatural, the very sort of fantasy elements of the horror is right slap bang in the middle of what is a very realistic scenario.
Yeah.
Like, Laura Mars is being stalked, but the magical realism is the fact that she can see through the eyes of the killer. You know, Carrie is a bullied girl, but the magical realism, she's telekinetic. you know, it's that. And it was so prolific during the 70s. But I love this. I think Faye Dunaway does a fantastic job. She really is wonderful in this role. But I think what really stands out for me is that it is quite campy.
Yeah.
I love the scenes where she is photographing the models. I love the score. Score is fantastic. I love the needle drops.
Yeah.
I love the theme song by Barbra Streisand. Is it just called Prisoner? It's just called
Love
Prisoner.
song from Laura. Love theme from Eyes of Laura Mars.
Yeah.
Oh my god, yeah.
I love it.
It's one of the greatest theme songs ever made.
There's one scene where she's taking photographs of models.
Yeah.
Who the ladies are in a state of undress. They're either in their bra and knickers or they're topless, and behind them is a car that's been turned over and a fire, and they're fighting.
Yeah.
And she's taking this as a fashion shoot. I don't know what she's trying to sell. She's trying to sell something. I think it was lace, wasn't it? Some sort of form of lace.
Yeah.
But you're not looking at the lace. And she's down low and she's got one leg out to the side. She's got a slit in her skirt, so she's sewing leg like Angelina Jolie. And I'm just like, this could only happen in the 70s. This is so campy. But yet so cunty as well at the same time. I could not help but stan. I don't know why. We liked it our first time watching it. Mm-hmm. But this time we loved it. Yeah. Loved it.
Absolutely.
It's hard. I'm really trying hard not to give too much away.
Yeah.
Because there is a twist. It is essentially a slasher film.
Yeah.
I love her gay best friend.
Yeah.
So camp.
Uh-huh.
I love the way that the models bicker with each other, and I love the way that there's a that very late 70s filter on the film. I love it. I do. Yeah. I do love it.
Yeah. But going back to that theme song, seriously, how that wasn't nominated for an Oscar, I really don't know. Like, it really is one of the greats. Barbra Streisand sings the hell out of it.
Well, it was produced by her then boyfriend.
Yeah, and she was obviously going to be in the film.
She was meant to be in the film, but I don't think it would have worked. I don't think it would have worked with Barbra Streisand.
No. Slade Dunaway is very specific to this role and why it works. And of course, this film was pretty much remade as Malignant. I mean, it's the same premise.
There are, definitely elements.
And That's So Raven.
Yeah. That's so Raven. Be quiet. She can gaze into the future.
She can gaze into the future.
Yeah, but Laura Mars could see what was happening right then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, highly recommend. If you like slasher films, I mean, this is up there with one of my favourites. It's pure slasher. It's, I calling it a slasher, I don't think is a bad thing. Slasher films are great. And if you're a slasher film written by John Carpenter, then you're definitely going to be a good one.
But it's somewhere, it occupies a space somewhere between slasher, giallo, and erotic thriller.
Yes,
especially with like the photography.
There's a lot of breasts, isn't
there? It's listed as an erotic thriller on so many things, but also it's very giallo. The murder mystery elements are it's weird because it's kind of slightly more giallo than it is slasher, but it's also definitely a slasher.
Yeah, in the sense that giallo and slasher are, I mean, siblings. Yeah, they are related. Giallo is the older sibling to slasher films. Yeah. So if it's somewhere between them, then it's perfectly reasonable. Yeah. So I'm not being funny. If you like your horror films, you've probably already heard of it. Does it get enough love?
I don't think it does.
No. It was one that I always went back to the review on Terror Trap.
Yeah.
I used to love Terror Trap. So I was very much aware of it. It was this Faye's last role before the infamous
Mummy Dearest?
Maybe not. No, I don't think so.
I don't know, but it's a good precursor because she screams like Joan Crawford a lot during the film. But yeah, it's just a fantastic piece of horror filmmaking, and funny enough, it isn't classed as horror, I don't think, on a lot of things. Which is definitely a horror film.
It is horror.
Yeah, it's so good, and I cannot recommend it enough. Should we talk about what else we've been watching?
Yes. What else have we been watching?
Dating all the way back to the 22nd of February when we watched The Monkey.
Yeah, did you enjoy that?
I loved the monkey. It was a lot of fun.
Didn't we talk about the monkey?
We did not.
Did we not?
We did not. No.
Oh.
The Monkey, directed by Oz Perkins, produced by James Wan, and based on a story by Stephen King. What a trio! What a trio! Such a fun popcorn horror film. Like that's all it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be any more.
Gory, over the top, silly, doesn't take itself too seriously. You therefore don't have to take it too seriously. If you like your horror with a lot of gore, then you're in for a great time.
Yeah. We watched a selection of shorts by two of our favourite filmmakers, Agnes Varda. We watched Tribute to Zagugu the Cat, Uncle Yanko, and The Black Panthers. All three phenomenal. I mean, Tribute to Zagugu the Cat. What a joyous piece of work that is. I could watch that every day for my life and I'd be happy.
I think she's slowly becoming one of our absolute favourite filmmakers.
Yeah. Of course, I'm still here. We discuss on the Oscars episode, but Kenneth Anger, we watched Puce Moment.
Yes. Puce Moment.
Yep. Rabbit's Moon, Urdu Artifice, Custom Cart Commandos. We watched The Man We Want to Hang, but there's not a lot to say about that. But the other four, all 5 stars. I've pretty much given everything except for one film by Kenneth Anger that I've watched 5 stars. It's just, if anyone can sum up the style that I love perfectly, with the mix of camp and that sort of dreamy throwback to the 50s and surrealism.
And homoeroticism.
Kenneth Anger perfects it. I mean, Custom Car Commandos is Dream Lover by the Paris Sisters. It's a music video, essentially, but it's just done with so much style and, just perfect. I love Kenneth Anger so much. We watched Ghost Cat Anzu.
We also watched on the big screen.
We did watch Barb Wire.
We watched, is it a restoration?
4K.
4K restoration of Barb Wire. Now, talking of films that
reappraisal.
We've reappraised. Barb Wire, I enjoyed the fucking hell out of that film.
Yeah. Anyone who tells you it's a bad film, they're lying to you.
It's absolutely not a bad film. It's so much fun.
Including us when we did a podcast episode on it. We were lying to you.
We did. I think we got bogged down in comparing it to Casablanca.
Yeah, I think we got bogged down with reputations, and I think that happens a lot, is when you read a lot about things. That's why the internet is a good thing for many things, but it's a shit thing for a lot of things. And one of those is giving you reputations of films that, you are led to believe, and you kind of see it through that lens. But it's amazing what you can do when you watch a film with your own lens.
Yeah.
You don't think of other people's opinions, and I know you listen to a podcast of 2 people giving their opinions, but when you make your own mind up about films, it's a magical thing. It could be a lot of fun, and you can discover things like Showgirls isn't a bad film, Barb Wire isn't a bad film. Yeah, we've learnt that the hard way.
yeah. I think...
And Troll 2 in the Room ain't getting an appraisal anytime soon, though. They are bad films, but just to confirm.
When you're told that something's bad and you go into it, it kind of has to work twice as hard. But I know not to get too serious, it's not my TED Talk, but I now, after so many years of watching films and appraising them, I now realise that it's so much easier for me to, number one, watch films that I think I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
And number two, go into films assuming that I'm going to enjoy it, and then if it lets me down, then I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, and it's critiques that I've seen people get online, when they're like, oh, you watch so many films and you enjoy them all, like you love every film. It's like, yeah, it's that the whole point. Like, if I sat here and I gave 2.5 to every film I ever watched, what's the point? If you turn around and said, oh, Chris, are you gonna come sit Transformers Dark Side of the Moon with me, or whatever it's called, I'd be like, no, because I don't think I'd like it.
Yeah.
And it's done. Like, and I'm not going to waste my time, watching a film. Now, there are plenty of films that I have been disappointed by.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. But I've never gone into them assuming I am going to now. No, my taste has evolved.
Um,
I'm imagining a number of people going, "Oh, what a twat! What the fuck's he talking about?" You know what I mean. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So we also watched Ghost Cat Anzu, which was lovely.
Loved that. It was so sweet. It was really just a heartwarming film.
Yeah.
But surprisingly dry.
Yeah. Yeah. Really
yeah.
unique in what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. And I hope it gets a proper release because we saw it as part of the Japan Touring Film Foundation. But yeah, it was a one-off screening and it deserves more. We also watched Blockers, which I believe I may have enjoyed slightly more than you. Nice little comedy.
Yeah, it was good. Female directed,
Fun,
which I appreciated. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, we watched The Jack Hammer Massacre and Maniacal, 2 shot-on-video slashers, which were a lot of fun.
Yeah, Joe Castro.
Yeah.
Sort of early 2000s, straight-to-video slasher films, which isn't everyone's cup of tea, let's be fair.
No.
But we had fun with those.
Yeah. All About My Mother is a film that you don't want me to make, but Pedro Almodovar did it, and it was phenomenal.
Really, I don't...
Love letter to women.
Yeah. I don't think we have enough time for me to tell you how much I love that film. But yeah, he's an absolute genius. I cannot wait to...
Another director that does that exact thing I said earlier.
Yeah, cannot wait to make my way through his... continue with his filmography.
Yeah. A film that is a new release for us, but I mean, I think it was released elsewhere in the world last year. All the Long Nights, my current film of the year. I know it changes all the time, but currently it's All the Long Nights, a relatable film that it's just so positive. And we've watched a lot of uplifting films this past month.
Yeah.
And this is definitely one of them. It's really uplifting and has such wonderful characters, great performances, fantastic directing. Just a really fantastic piece of filmmaking that I absolutely adored. Again, Japan Touring Film Foundation, it needs a better release. It needs a bigger release, should I say.
I think Third Window should pick it up. It was... I gave it 5 stars.
Yeah.
You did as well. It's just really nice people that you're rooting for. And you're really rooting for them. And they're not... There's no forced relationship. Nothing's forced in it. You're just following these people. You're following their journey. They're growing. They're evolving at their own pace. And they're just genuinely nice people that you want to spend time with. I loved it. I thought it was just a real beautiful, touching film. Yeah.
I watched and loved Swim Fan for the first time.
Me too. I liked Swim Fan.
But you'd seen it before, hadn't you?
No.
Oh, I thought you'd already seen it.
No. Gossip I've seen before.
Okay.
When we're talking early 2000s teen thrillers.
Yeah. Blockbuster classics. As in the store blockbusters. I always remember seeing this in there and wondering what it was about. I thought it was just another Wild Things. But no, it's another Fatal Attraction instead. Post-Scream Fatal Attraction.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So it's exactly what you think that is.
I watched Speed for the first time.
Yes, she did, finally.
A great example of how to make a perfect action film. A film that really deserves more love is The Sweetest Thing.
Do you think it deserves more love?
I think it does.
Or just a little more respect?
I think it deserves more love and more respect because it does what male-led films did in the 2000s and it got absolutely trashed for it. But just because it's women. That's all. This is American Pie. This is all of your sex comedies from the 2000s and 90s. It's just with women. That's the only change here. It's the same sort of humour. And you know what? Some of it, which I didn't expect, was genuinely funny.
I did laugh out loud at times.
It's a rip-off of Sex and the City.
Yeah.
But you know.
It's a gross out Sex and the City.
Yeah.
which is fine. I didn't think it was a bad film, actually. It was, growing up, Cruel Intentions was my favourite. Loved Cruel Intentions. This was the film Roger Cumble did afterwards, and set with Selma Blair, and I loved Selma Blair, and I didn't watch it because it had bad word of mouth, and I should have watched it because it was a fun film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last from me is Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires. A film that I thought I had seen before, but apparently I'd just seen one scene edited down for TV when I was younger. We've watched the first Hammer Dracula film, and we've watched the last. We need to watch the rest in between. But this is a Hammer / Shaw Brothers collaboration, and I just had so much fun with it. It's such a fun time. Plenty of great scenes of martial arts and great lighting, and Peter Cushing just being confused what the fuck he's going on about. But, fun times.
It was... It was Shaw Brothers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse me. It felt a lot more like a Shaw Brothers film than a Hammer film. It did. I was nervous going into it because we'd watched Hammer films where Christopher Lee starred as Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
And I was nervous that we were going to get something that was potentially offensive.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. And it wasn't. It was actually a really fun martial arts film.
Yeah.
With horror elements into it. It does star Dracula, but it's not a Dracula film. It's for me, the Shaw Brothers took main stage.
Yeah.
Which is good because I love a Shaw Brothers martial arts film.
Do you have any other first time watches?
I certainly do. So I watched millennial classic 8-Legged Freaks.
Yes.
Gateway horror classic 8-Legged Freaks. Watched that for the first time. Really enjoyed that. I feel like I don't like spiders. I don't really like spider films. But I thought this was wacky enough, and the spiders looked CGI enough that I didn't have nightmares afterwards. I feel like I would have been okay with it when it came out when I was 14, so I'm surprised I didn't see that at the cinema, to be fair. But I also watched another millennial classic. It wasn't a double bill with Sweetest Thing. We watched Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Fun. It's very silly. It's very silly, but it's also very campy. A lot of fun. Some of it hasn't held up too well, sort of culturally, let's say. But yeah, what a hell of a fun film. Yeah. Definitely a perfect popcorn film with some great female representation. Cameron Diaz, Drew Barrymore and Lucy Liu are incredibly likable. So yeah, no complaints from me for that one.
Well, both of those are childhood classics for me. Let's discuss our little let's discuss section. I have something that comes to mind. I'm sure it's a subject I can put you on the spot about, and you can
something
talk about
to get off your chest
for hours. Let's discuss Sex and the City.
Yes.
Because we have a problem. We have an addiction.
We have an addiction.
Last year we watched it. We rewatched it. It was the second time for me, like 50th time for Chris.
Yes.
We rewatched it last year. It ended, and it was one of those shows where as soon as it ended, I was kind of like, I just want to watch it again. I just want to watch it again. And I think because when I first watched it, I was in my 20s, my late 20s, and it was just a fun show. But then as I started watching it more last year in my 30s, I was like, oh my god, this is so relatable.
Well, you are season 1. You are, and I'm sure you won't mind me saying, 32 years of age.
Yeah?
Yeah. That's the age that Carrie was in season 1. So you are in, and like a TikTok I saw earlier today, if you are 32, you are in season 1 of Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Obviously things have changed massively.
Yes.
And we do not live in New York.
Yeah, we could not afford somewhere like what Carrie has.
No. But there are things that ring true for everyone. It's a universal kind of show. Yes, is it over the top at times? Is it ridiculous? Do we sit there screaming at Carrie's decision making? Of course. But we all know people in our lives who are like these characters.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, it holds up so well. I just think my favourite TV show of all time is Twin Peaks.
As is mine.
As is yours. But Sex and the City is incredibly close. Because I just think it's so wonderfully, brilliantly written characters.
Yeah.
That I want to spend time with. I want to see their journey. I want to see their peaks. I want to see, the failures and successes. I love it, and then I want to watch it all over again. Even, and just like that, when it was a little iffy to begin with, I still had the love that I had for those characters.
Yeah.
I think it was, we watched it last year, and straight away we're like, I'd like to rewatch this again. But what we've also discovered is hilarious TikToks related specifically to Carrie Bradshaw being high cringe.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hate to admit it, but maybe I am a Carrie Bradshaw. I feel like it's a turning point in life when you realise this.
Yeah.
Some people hate to be called a Carrie. Some people are proud to be a Carrie. I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle. Mixed with a bit of a Charlotte as well.
Carrie's not a bad person. She just makes bad choices.
She's flawed. And there's
She's
nothing
flawed.
wrong with having a flawed character in a TV show.
And all the characters are flawed.
Yeah.
They are. All the characters are flawed. And I say that as a Miranda.
Yeah.
Which some people would think is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
But, they all have their wonderful traits and their not so great traits. And do you know what? When they come together, they're solid gold.
Yeah. So, to summarise Let's Discuss today, we're here to tell you that Sex and the City is one of the greatest TV shows ever made. And if you're in your 30s, you're a homosexual or a woman, and you haven't watched it, you're really missing out.
I mean, even a straight guy. Or
maybe learn some lessons.
Bisexuals, everyone should watch it.
Yeah.
But I feel like in your 30s, it does hit differently.
Yeah.
I really do, because there are things when you're in your 30s, you have questions, and you think that time's running out, and a lot of Sex and the City is for women dealing with those questions. Yeah. Obviously, Carrie is very clear with those questions. She makes a living from asking those questions. But we all do. We all, is this my time to have children? If I don't, do I want children? Do I want marriage? What is my career working for me? Mm-hmm. All of those, and it's so universal. Yeah. I just think it's a beautifully performed. So I told you I could speak for hours on it, but I think it's beautifully performed by 4 incredible actresses as well. Yeah. I don't think they get enough credit for just being absolutely brilliant at portraying these characters and making them feel real. Not once, and we, particularly with Sarah Jessica Parker, we've watched a few of her films. Not one point, whilst we're sat there watching Sex and the City, do I think that's Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah. That is Carrie Bradshaw. Yeah. And that is quite difficult to do when you're a big name.
Absolutely. Wow.
So this is and we've been listening to Are You a Charlotte, haven't we, the podcast. So please invite us on. Please. I want to tell you that I'm a Miranda. I'll talk about anything.
Yeah, maybe I'd be a little more welcome with being half a Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, Kristen Davis, she's not a Charlotte.
That's true.
As she professes.
Back to the highlights.
Yes.
Highlight number 3, we're talking about Mickey 17. Directed and written by Bong Joon-ho, based on Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton, starring Robert Pattinson, Naomi Aki, Stephen Yeun, Toni Collette, and it's about Mickey 17, known as an expendable, who goes on a dangerous journey to colonize an ice planet. Of course, Bong Joon-ho, his last film was one of the greatest films ever put to screen. It was Parasite, Oscar-winning masterpiece, game changer, just really cultural reset. Just every sort of praise you can give to a film, it's got to go to Parasite. One of my top 10 favourite films of all time. Just perfect filmmaking. Puts a lot of the Oscar nominees that have come since then, some of the Oscar winners, not Everything Everywhere at Once, of course, but a lot of the Oscar winners puts them to shame. It's just a masterful piece of filmmaking. So how do you follow up something like that? You have two Robert Pattinsons and put them in a threesome with Naomi Aki. And my actual answer to that is you follow it with a super fun sci-fi action comedy blockbuster like this. Is it as good as Parasite? Obviously not, but it is a fantastic and incredibly fun film.
Yeah, it's what I like in it. It's the heart of the film, and I like all the performances. But I think Robert Pattinson gives a genuinely fantastic performance. He gives two.
Yeah.
There's a dual role, and you can, despite them looking the same, they feel like two completely different characters, and he does a wonderful job. He's good at comedy.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him in too much, so I don't know if this is a surprise to anyone that he can do comedy.
I've seen him from The Twilight Journey, and this is quite a surprise. I mean, talking to Sex and the City, he talks like Steve from Sex and the City. He throughout the whole film.
I love Naomi Aki.
Yeah,
I love her
so
performance.
good.
Toni Collette is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo is a bona fide scene stealer. I think he does a wonderful job as well. I think it's very politically charged.
Oh yeah.
It's definitely saying something. I saw it on a list of films that definitely thought Donald Trump was going to lose the 2024 election.
But also kind of feels right in a time where he didn't lose.
Yes, I think it works both ways. Yeah. But I don't think the filmmakers thought it was going to happen.
I don't think so. But it makes this film all the more important with the sorry state that America's in right now. It really...
the world, really.
Well, the world, of course. But,
good old Keir Starmer's screwing people over.
Yes. Yeah. But this film is very specifically as an over-the-top satirical take on Donald Trump with the Mark Ruffalo character. It's not subtle. Doesn't need to be subtle. It's a fuck you to Donald Trump.
But it is. It is.
We need that sort of film right now. And it says so much as well. It talks of colonialism, it talks of climate change, political corruption, and it does it so well. Bong Joon-ho integrates these into the film. I haven't read the novel. I don't know how much of that is taken from the novel, but it works within this story without ever bogging it down and without ever. It never gets in the way of it being fun. You get your big scale sci-fi set pieces and you get your comedy, the dark humor and so on. You get really cute CGI creatures as well, It's all there and it all works in the same film without ever feeling bloated.
And we found out today it's actually doing fairly alright. It's
doing fairly well at the box office.
At the box office, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And it's still there. It's out of cinemas. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend. Obviously, we won't want to give too much away, because it is still out in cinemas, and I really highly recommend people watch it. Anyway, it's the political thing. It might put some people off, but there's still a lot of fun to be had in other areas as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, and I think this could lead to the Robert Pattinson Oscar story next year.
You have mentioned that a few times. I'm
Other
not
people
so
have mentioned
sure.
it. I'm not the only one. And I'm calling it now on this podcast episode. This time next year, I'm sure we'll be sat here talking about whether or not he won an Oscar.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But lots of people have said it.
Yeah. Good
and
for
it's,
him.
I mean, it'd be fully well deserved. And it's just that typical story, isn't it? Like the Brendan Fraser story. Like no one really took Robert Pattinson seriously when he was in Twilight. And then he's kind of gone into things like Good Time and Tenet, and these more serious films and indie films, and of course he's in the Batman as well, But even then, he's trying to take himself more seriously, and he's a good actor. He really is a good actor, and Kristen Stewart did the same. And obviously, what I'm saying is justice for Twilight, of course.
I never watched Twilight. Like I said earlier, I don't go out of my way to watch films that I don't think I'm going to enjoy. So I don't really have an opinion. From what I've seen of Robert Pattinson, his work, he's good. He's a good actor.
Yeah.
I mean, is that the whole point? We're not all born perfect at stuff. If his acting in Twilight
it wasn't like his Twilight acting wasn't good. It was cool to hate. It was cool to hate on Twilight.
Are we not meant to evolve? Are we not meant
to
grow?
Of course.
As we go through time, am I not better at my job now than I was 5 years ago?
Of course. The thing is, when Twilight was released, it was the coolest thing ever to hate Twilight.
Yeah.
If you hate Twilight, you were fucking cool.
But that's what I'm saying, is that it's particularly because we follow films and such. There's a tendency to be that if you're shit when you were 20, then you're still going to be shit when you're 40.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not really the point, is it? We're meant to get better at these things.
Yeah. One thing people loved to do in the 2000s was to hate on Twilight and call it gay because it was about a vampire who sparkled in the sunlight. It's like, fucking get over it.
But there's the same people who are like, oh, here's a proper vampire film, Lost Boys.
yeah, completely.
That's not gay.
Yeah.
Love Joel Schumacher, my favourite director.
Completely misunderstanding like how vampire films have been gay for centuries.
Yeah, do you know what's a great film?
Ever since
Fright Night. Let's watch Fright Night.
Yeah. Ever since they were first invented, they've always been fucking gay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my Twilight TED Talk. What do we have for highlight number 4?
Black Bag. Yeah, Black Bag. Probably the most surprising film of the year so far. Directed by Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
Written by David Cope.
Yeah.
Starring Cate Blanchett.
Kate.
Michael Fassbender.
Uh-huh.
Marissa Abela. Tom Burke. Naomi Harris.
Yes.
The premise is when intelligence agent Catherine Woodhouse is suspected of betraying the nation, her husband, also a legendary agent, faces the ultimate test of whether to be loyal to his marriage or his country. I've never seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And I've seen people saying that this is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. I don't know. What I do know is that it's a really fucking fun film. Like, really, it's surprising to have a cast like this in what is, in my opinion, quite a small film.
Yeah.
It's quite insular. It doesn't have a huge budget.
Uh-huh.
It's given a James Bond energy, but not on a James Bond budget. It's also really giving Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Because it's a lot talkier than I thought it was going to be. It deals with spies, like I said, and it deals with a marriage. It's kind of campy at times.
Kind of. This film is high camp, and it doesn't hint towards giving a bit of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. This film goes full Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf in its first and third acts.
Like, literally, let's turn on the guests.
Like, yeah. They even quote the tagline for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
They do.
That's something I didn't expect from this film. This film is just nowhere near what I was expecting. And let's be honest, we have a bit of backstory for the trailer, don't we?
Yeah. So the way that Cate Blanchett says "black bag" in the trailer and in the film, thankfully they kept it in the film, is high camp.
Yeah.
She is so cunty
Cheers.
in the trailer and the film. Absolutely stunning. She is the spy who loved me.
Yeah.
And the spy who I loved. She's just given it... I feel like all the actors are in on it. And there's a little tongue-in-cheek there.
Yeah, something's off.
Yes. I love, and I say it all the time on the podcast, I love a film that is slightly off.
Yeah.
So it's given us what could have been a run-of-the-mill spy film. Yeah? But there's something that just makes it slightly off.
Uh-huh.
Slightly, well, campy, rather campy. But in the performances, like, they know that it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it, but I'm sure everyone understands. I really, really liked it, and it's a shame because unlike Mickey 17, apparently it's not doing so well at the box office. And I had such a fun time with it. It kind of weirdly felt as if it was like a pilot for a TV show. That like we were gonna get potentially a series of films.
Yeah. So
like The Thin Man. How great would that? You know how The Thin Man is a husband and wife duo going about.
Yeah.
Like imagine if we had a series of films like The Thin Man.
That would be great. It's very distinctly British to the point that we even get Cate Blanchett saying Blackpool.
Yeah, she talks about Blackpool.
Black Bag and Blackpool.
Naomi Harris she's from Blackpool.
She's from Blackpool.
Her character is from
Absolutely
Blackpool.
ridiculous. Something I never thought I would hear Cate Blanchett say. But it's very quintessentially British. Kind of makes me feel like they need to get him for this next James Bond film. Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah.
But that being said, we've seen 3 Steven Soderbergh films. None of them have felt like the same director.
He's never been caught doing the same thing twice, has he? Did he do a sequel to Magic Mike?
Maybe. I know he did Ocean's 11.
Did you do Ocean's 11?
Yeah. So maybe this is his thing, like heists and such. And it makes sense to give him the next James Bond film after this.
Yeah.
But and if they do, it could go back to James Bond being camp again. Because it's all this is. It is just so camp and so ridiculous. But again, going back to Gothic, it's sincere.
Yeah. I love the way it looked as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out...
Season 1 filter from Drag Race.
Yeah. But I couldn't figure out when it was... Well, it was set in modern times because it had modern technology.
Yeah.
But everyone dressed as if it was the 70s and looked like it was the 70s. I adored it. Oh, he did Out of Sight.
Yeah.
Out of Sight. So he maybe does some of these sort of spy sort of thrillers. He's rather prolific, isn't he?
He is.
But I really want to go through his filmography because I had such a fun time. Really, just had so much fun with the film. It was funny at times and deliberately so. I wasn't laughing at the film. I was laughing with it because of that tongue-in-cheek nature.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan being over the top.
Yeah, he did chew the scenery, didn't he? At times,
did.
But yeah, it's in cinemas. It's not doing so well, guys. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, go and
please
see it.
watch it because I'd love a sequel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
is that all we have to say? And
that's,
it's score as well. The score was incredible.
I did, really love the score. Yeah, that was very good too.
Someone was playing the upright bass.
So
I don't know how to describe this, and I'm going to say it, or else I'm going to regret not saying it.
Yes.
But it genuinely, the whole film kind of gave me the same energy as that Kim Cattrall scatting video. I don't know why. I don't know the logic behind it, but the way it looked, the house that it was in, the relationship between Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett, it was just giving that Kim Cattrall scatting video. And I don't... The upright bass and the score... And do a double bill. Treat yourself to a double bill of Black Bag and the Kim Cattrall scatting video.
There we go.
Not scat like that before you say it. And I should hope you know what it is if you listen to this podcast. But yeah, those are our highlights. That's what we've been watching. And what we'll be watching soon includes The Woman in the Yard. Blumhouse, this is a great trailer. Please be fucking good. Don't make me sit through another shit Blumhouse film. This has to be good.
What's it called?
The Woman in the Yard. Yard.
Where do you want it? Yard.
We will finally be watching Flow.
Yeah, well, it feels like a million years since we heard of the film, really wanted to watch it. It's won an Oscar in between, so it must be good.
We'll be watching The End.
It must be good. That sounded sarcastic, but
we'll be watching the Tilda Swinton musical, The End.
Yes.
And we watching.
That hasn't got the best reviews, has it?
I haven't looked.
Oh,
thank you for reading it.
Oh wow, are you one of those? Okay.
Yeah, because it's a film that I've decided I want to see. Because I feel like it's going to be my kind of film, regardless of what people say about it.
Okay.
And La Cocina, which is. It looks like the bear. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah, black and white bear.
Yeah.
Panda bear.
Yeah.
But yeah, that looks very interesting. Are we booked for anything else?
Older films, I believe.
What are we watching? The animated film we're watching this week.
Animated film?
What's it called? I can't remember now.
Well. Apparently we'll be talking about another animated film.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember. It begins with a C.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. I don't think that's this week, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, we're just putting our
calendar
together.
You'll find out. If we watched it or not, you'll find out.
Follow us on Letterboxd and you'll find out what we watched Friday night.
Well, speaking of, you can find us on all social media by searching the name of the podcast. You can find us as well by searching Gary Cruz and Chris Barker. That's our names. If you could give us a rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to this, we'd be so grateful. And before we leave you...
We'd be so grateful.
Yeah, that's my convincing voice for people to say nice things about
We'd be so grateful.
And we'd also be grateful.
Be so proud of you.
That's so niche. I'm not even going to go there. Too niche. Maybe you may have actually finally reached that goal of too niche.
Too niche.
Also, anyone who knows us knows that we are also Gasp Horror Film Festival. We run our own festival. And today, the Tuesday that this is being released, we are announcing our lineup at 7 p.m. UK time tonight. And tickets go on sale on Saturday at 12 p.m. So, if you're on our mailing list, you can grab them tomorrow as part of a pre-sale. Gasp Horror Fest on social media. Go check it out. We have a big year planned this year, and we can't wait to show you what we've done.
Yes, fantastic lineup, if I do say so myself, that you'll all be finding out about, so get your tickets.
And we'll be back at the same time, in the same place, in 2 weeks' time.
Bye.